are Metasource Games. I'm Robert Trusardi.
And I'm Joshua Aridhall Cantrell. We believe in scarcity-based gaming and the power of player ownership.
We are a small team focused on becoming #1 in blockchain and metaverse gaming. So get ready and take a ride with us through the Metasource. All right, and here we are. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Through the Metasource, episode number 11. We just had 10 the other day. We are back with episode 11. We are here today with Ryu Games, the creator of the Flame, of the Steam of web3 platform. And joining us is Rick Ellis, the creator of Steam. You guys may know a very popular platform. You just download games, pretty much biggest downloading PC gaming soft platform on the internet. And joined by head of marketing, Lily. Is that your title?
Yeah, business development lead is technical title, but you can call it
okay, co-founder too. It sounds like a co-founder.
No.
No, okay, because we wear many hats. Okay, got it. But joined by Lily, and of course this other guy at the bottom right. I don't know. I might be, business married to him, but my full business partner, Joshua Aridhall Cantrell, who owns and operates Metasource and Castles, the NFT game, with me. So say hello to everybody in the chat. Crypto AI, Jubby Jub, who is cool. I think a moderator for Pink GG, and it's good to have you here with Atomic and Texas Ape, Debbie Metal, James Zanagi. Debbie's one of our moderators. Good to see you guys. So we have an exciting episode here today. We have a partnership with Flame. We're going to be one of their featured collections on their platform. And, Rick, I was just listening to a MA with Incarnate, which is another featured collection that you had on Twitch the other day. And there's something really stood out to me, which was you were describing basically the problem that PC games had back in the day, where they weren't really easily accessible. It was hard to really sell your game if you were a PC developer or independent developer. And what you guys were discussing was like, you had kind of like solved this problem before that we're experiencing right now inside of Web3 gaming, which is everything's kind of siloed at different places. It's really fragmented, and it's really hard for gamers to come in and just play the games and get what they want. So, and it sounds like that is the mission of the Flame platform that you are creating, which is to allow people who want to basically, own their game assets, a platform where they can go on one, stop in order to play those games and see what is curated to make sure that they're only playing the good collections. Is that right?
Yeah. Interestingly, the problems we solved with Steam, years ago, are many of those still exist now in Web3, but there's some additional things in Web3 as well. Not only do you have a hard time finding the games to play, but you have a hard time kind of weeding out the real games from the pseudo games, from the just straight up, rip-off schemes, right? And at least in the old days, a game had to make it to a store before you could buy it and play it. But nowadays, anybody can point you to an executable and say, this is our game, go play it. And you're sort of at, their beck and call as far as what that executable does to your computer, what it does to your, your security. So, but one thing is that what we're building is really the equivalent of Steam for Web3. And the reason I say that is because we have a lot of people say, there's other platforms out here that we can stick our game on. But what I'd like to point out is that Steam isn't just a store for games. Steam has all kinds of extra things that help developers, that help gamers. You have game overlays where you can chat with your friends. You can, invite your friends to games within a game. You can see what your friends have purchased. You can see different ratings. And, today, Steam is still the largest. I think they're 80% or something of the PC market, even though Epic Store has been out for a number of years, and they're actually giving away games. Like, they're spending millions of dollars a year giving away games, and they still do maybe 10% of the business that Steam does. And if you look at it, they didn't really solve the problems for the users and for the developers. yes, there's a place to sell your games, but there's a lot of people that will go download their games off the Epic Store and then they head to Steam because they have problems installing it or they don't know how to configure something. And so their community is over on Steam, even though they're acquiring their games on the Epic Store. And so what we are building is a trusted site, the community for Web3 games, where you can not only discover them, you can download them. We have an easy on-ramping system. There's no more of this, hey, you have to create a wallet. And if you're a non-crypto person, like a typical PC and console gamer, you're going to have no idea what a wallet is, much less now I got to buy this token and I have to wrap it and I have to send it here, convert it to that. And now I can finally buy the thing I have to play a game. So we're hiding all of that from the users. We're integrating all that stuff and we're taking care of all the swapping and currency movement required to purchase NFTs or to get tokens for a game to start playing. So our vision is that a gamer will come in and play one of these games just like they do on Steam. So you use some sort of social login, maybe that's even the Steam login, and you'll have access to all of your games, and you can just play. If you need to purchase something, you can use a credit card, and we'll handle all the processing, transactions, everything necessary to make that happen. In addition to that, we have tools. We have a bunch of analytics that we're building in that will let players see things like, what's the ROI on different NFTs? Like if I do want to earn, if I do want to play and earn, I want to maximize that, which NFTs and which communities should I be a part of? And then additionally, from a developer side, I know you guys already have great connections with the tools you have, but the thing that's missing from all the social tools from a game developer standpoint is really understanding kind of under the hood what the players are actually doing in your game. Like where do they get to in the tutorial before they quit? How far in the game, are they before they quit? Where are people getting stuck? I don't know if you've ever seen, but there were a bunch of heat maps and stuff that at Valve we released for Counter-Strike, and we actually used those to tune the game because we could find places on the map where everybody continued to die, and then we would adjust the maps that made it easier. So by providing those tools, via Flame to developers, you guys are going to have that same extensive set of tools to help your games, to build and grow. And the other thing is that we have built-in marketplaces. One of them will be ours, but we're also going to have other people's marketplaces in as part of the store, part of the experience. We're multi-chain. We're starting off with EVM targets right now, but we're going to very quickly expand into others. Wax is probably second.
And EVM is Ethereum, just people know. I had to double check that the other day.
Yeah. So so being multi-chain, multi-market, we don't want to have a preference for anything, and we want to allow players to be able to have easy access regardless of what they're doing. One of the big issues right now in crypto gaming is that the number of players is not big enough. If you look at the number of crypto games and crypto players versus the number of PC and console players, it's dwarfed by those players. Steam has somewhere north of 1 billion accounts that are created, and they have somewhere around 700 to 800 million monthly players that play their games. And to kind of give you an idea of scale, I mean, you may have seen me say this in the Incarnate AMA, but to give you an idea of scale, there's been something like 3 million NFTs sold all time on, in the crypto space. And if you went and looked like right now and saw how many people were playing on Steam, you'd see there's probably between 25 and 30 million people playing. So there's a huge gap. And so part of what we're building is a tool that will let games like yours attract the 900 plus million gamers from the PC and console space. Right now, they're afraid of the space. They see and read daily about scams that are happening. They see, theft happening. And it's kind of a scary thing for them to do when they start seeing, acronyms and words, phrases that they're not familiar with. And so we're actively working to make the on-ramping and the off-ramping super important. We're working on helping developers build AAA quality games, because at the end of the day, most PC and console gamers are not going to come to crypto games for NFTs. Like, they're just not going to. the thought of, you know, getting NFTs and making a bunch of money is not what's going to drive them into those games. What's going to drive them is to have amazing high quality games. And then the side benefit's going to be, hey, I can buy NFTs to enhance my gameplay. Like, they totally get that. And then having the ability to have ownership of that is huge. One of the things I learned while I was at Valve was watching what gamers do and giving them the tools that they are looking for. Because it's pretty easy. A lot of companies will say, oh yeah, we're all, you know, we're player driven. And by and large, that's BS, right? They want to say that because somebody told them somewhere that's a good thing to say. But the reality is, if you're really player driven, you actually go spend time and look at what your player base is doing. And for example, if you play World of Warcraft, for years, people have been buying and selling gold, selling weapons, trying to trade weapons, selling accounts, and that's not sanctioned. Even though as a player, I might have put in hundreds and hundreds of hours on a character, it's not mine. I don't actually own it. And if you read the terms and services, it's very clear that Blizzard owns all of the digital assets. And so users are trying to do this. They don't have a tool for it. And so they're doing it in sort of an underhanded or kind of back channel way that, should they get caught, all the value disappears because Blizzard shuts the account down. And I think that's crazy. I played a lot of those games. I've participated in some of those side channel things. And that's one of the things I love about the crypto space, is that you can now actually own that stuff. And say you play World of Warcraft, you know, you play a game on Flame for a while, and you build up high-level NFTs, and you're done playing the game. Well, you have a bunch of options. You can rent the NFTs out, you can sell the NFTs, but you have ways of extracting value for the effort you put in a way that hasn't been sanctioned before. And so that's just one example of giving the users a tool that they're trying to do on their own anyway, right? So that's what our focus is providing these tools and a kind of one-stop shopping place for all your games, NFTs, and currencies in a trusted way, giving players, you know, forums where they can talk to each other, giving developers access to their players by being able to post roadmaps in a common location, you know, having their own chat with their gamers. I know everybody's doing this in separate tools, but having it all in the same place makes a lot of sense. Because as a brand new user, if I discovered your game, I don't know where to go to really get a bunch of information about it. But if your game is on Flame, it's just all right there. I can just look at your roadmap. I can see people talking. I can see how the developers interacting with the community. And so I know I've been talking a lot, almost nonstop, but largely that's what we're building. And so you really need to think of Flame as really more of a Steam than just a store for games, because that's, and I'm not suggesting you said that, but we do get that comment a lot. Like, how are you guys different from A, B, or C? And the A, B, and C's are not doing all of the additional work and effort to make this actually a community-based, safe junction for gaming.
Yeah, Rick, so much of what you say speaks to me. And even from listening to the previous AMA with Incarnate, you should have seen me at NFT Expoverse. Like, when I was talking to like some of these other game developers like Soulcraft and the Crypto Blades creator and Supremacy, like I was like your biggest salesman. I was like, look, like these guys are making this platform's going to do this, this, and this, and these are our problems, and it's going to solve it this way and this way and this way. So everything you're saying is exactly what got me really hyped up to share you guys at NFT Expoverse with other developers, because like you were saying, there are a lot of these other companies that are like, oh yeah, we're gamers, we're going to make metaverse stuff, it's going to be really awesome, and they're like, people are going to want to buy it, right? And then like, but do you really know what players want? Do you really do they really know? I feel like so many of these other companies that are popping up, they don't, and it might be for a variety of reasons. I feel like sometimes it's kind of difficult to how should I put this? It's not everybody either in technology or games actually understands why people come to play games. And there's different types of people. But I think I could use an example way back in the 90s. We had, I think it was Richard Garriott was making like Ultima Online. And, I guess he was kind of making like the perfect game for himself. And he and his team made like, one of the first like graphical MMOs on the PC, and really just first of its kind, but it got exploited to the teeth. Like it was like everything they did got exploited. They were like, oh yeah, we'll do this and that will be great. And then once the gamers came in there, they were wrecking balls to the game until just like the game just couldn't really function, and got notoriety for just basically being trash fire of exploits. But that came from them kind of not understanding gamers' mindsets, and so I think that's kind of the key thing you're talking about is, understanding the gamer mindset. What do they really want? How can you service that? And you're completely right about Epic, where they're not doing that. Like they have, the Unreal Engine. They have that platform there that they have, and they kind of use the establishment of Unreal and the other games that they have to kind of have a place, to have a brand. But really comes to servicing gamers, they don't know what they want, so they're like, why don't we just throw free games at them? That'll bring them here, right? And I don't know about you, but sometimes I go in there and download a free game, and then I don't know, I have like 8 free games I haven't even touched yet, just because obviously I run a company and I don't really have time anymore to quite play with it. But when I go into the Epic store, I don't really have what I would call a satisfactory experience. You really, every time I go in there, I feel like it's missing exactly everything you said. It's missing community. It's missing feedback. I need some kind of feedback to inform me what it is I should look at, what it is I should even spend time just to even think about getting. And they don't give me that information, where Steam does. When I go into Steam, first thing I do is besides seeing the video and the pictures and stuff and the description is, what are the what's the votes, like, what people like. Is it very positive? Is it mostly positive? If it's overwhelmingly positive, I should probably click on it, start looking at the reviews. But all the reviews are right there. They have the discussion forums, and so it's all about the information. You arm the players with the information they want, so they can inform themselves on whether or not they should invest their time and money into this thing. And so really it speaks to me that those layers that you're talking about, and obviously there are many other layers to it, the technology, how do players step in, but we'll keep getting into that. I'll kind of start pulling back the layers, and we'll kind of go into what the experience would be like for the gamers from the start of it. But I don't want to leave Josh and Lily totally out of the conversation. Some of you guys know my full business partner Josh down there, but Lily, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Rick, and yeah, just share a little bit about how you got into this. And you must like it. You care about it, right? You like this stuff?
No, I'm just in it for the money. No, I'm just playing. Let's see. I don't even know where to begin. So I'm a gamer from pretty much day one. I guess when I was 4 years old, a Game Boy was thrust into my hands, and to keep me busy. It kind of started this long journey for me of games as a hobby. I went from Game Boy to N64 to PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of handheld consoles in between there, a lot of PC gaming. So gaming was kind of always a thing for me. But so I'm non-technical, and that's, I think, probably makes me unique on this call. I would imagine, certainly Rick is, I would imagine both of you are as well. But that it puts me in a bit of a unique position, right? Because I came up actually through the nonprofit space, because I just didn't think that someone like me, who doesn't understand numbers so well, could be in gaming, because it's like, oh, well, I don't know how to program, so what is there for me to do? And of course, there was a day I learned about other jobs in the industry that I could have. And I ran into Ryu Games. And I was actually the first person they hired back in January 2020. It was me and the two founders. We originally were a crypto company. Then we actually, strangely enough, pivoted off of crypto for a hot second and then came back. So, for about a year or so, we were in the real money gaming space, which is kind of tangentially related to Web3, in that it's like this alternative monetization structure for games, where it's but a little more focused on tournaments and real money gaming versus like NFTs and cryptocurrency and things like that. So the point being that our company really was born out of crypto, and by the time we decided to pivot, we had met Rick, who, Rick, I'll brag about Rick so he doesn't have to. I know it said Rick is the creator, his founder of Steam, but just to kind of be explicit about it. And Rick, feel free to stop me if I'm incorrect here, but you were there. You started by making these like dev kits for a little console called the Xbox and GameCube. Right, so that's pretty cool. And then you were building what eventually would become Steam at a different company that wasn't Valve, until you ran into Gabe Newell, who said, "Hey, why don't you just build it here?" And you did. So, and then there is this game. It's the second in a franchise about a Half-Life 2, right? You built a physics engine for that game, right? So, Rick, you've been around the block a couple. Yeah.
Oh man, the gravity gun. It's all about the gravity gun, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I only say this, because I'll be the one to brag, right? Anyways, we met Rick, and we're kind of doing our thing. We built some games together, partnered on those, and eventually together we came to the idea for Flame, which essentially is solving the problems of Web3, much like Rick, you did with Web2 gaming, right? Different problems, but solve them nonetheless. I myself feel like I'm in an interesting position because I don't quite understand the ins and outs of crypto in the same way everyone else on the Flame team does, but I understand the vision, right? So in some ways, the product we're building is the thing that's going to make crypto more accessible to me, right? Because as a gamer, I understand that I would love to own my World of Warcraft character and be able to potentially profit off of that. It makes perfect sense. But people like me who love video games and would absolutely love to have the option of earning within a game are never going to be able to do it unless the experience is better and it's more stable, right? And we can just have a place where all the games are, as opposed to all these wallets and seed phrases and all these things that, make sense to a lot of people, probably every single person watching this stream. But, when you're talking about the hundreds of millions of gamers in the world, the experience just needs to be better. So that's what we're building.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we need that kind of perspective as well. Someone who's not quite as technical, because probably the one trap that a technical person can get into is, having a set of very complicated rules and expecting that everybody can, understand that complicated set of rules, like getting onto blockchains, signing into wallets. It's always nice to have someone from an outside perspective who's like, actually, I don't know anything about this. I'm not even sure I can understand some of it, but if you can have the experience, we're able to get onboarded with it and start using it and get to the result, which is having fun, well, then you're the right person there to kind of help guide everybody into creating that experience for the users.
Yeah. And much like, I think right now we're talking about Web3 as this entirely separate world that doesn't intersect with normal video games, right? Your average gamer isn't keyed into Web3, but I think ultimately the vision is that this is another way to monetize games, regardless of what game it is, right? In the same way that free-to-play elements kind of trickled down throughout video games, regardless if it's a AAA title, if it's a mobile title. Free to play is just kind of another thing you find in games right now, right? And I think that's the same thing with ownership. It's gonna be everywhere, and when we're on the ground floor.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that it's going to start to become ubiquitous with whether or not you're playing just a normal game or a Web3 game. Eventually, why wouldn't you actually play a game and just own your assets? Josh, I don't want to leave you out of the conversation. What are your takeaways so far before we start to get into some of the Rick's journey a little bit, how he got here, and then into the nitty-gritty details of how our users can use Flame?
Oh, I'm the technical guy, so I'm sitting in the back taking notes and things like that. So I'm happy to be quiet. You don't have to worry about me. But no, this is all awesome. It was our community that introduced us to Flame in the first place, and so we know that the community is looking for this. We've talked a lot about the technical side. We do have a very technically proficient audience, but even they understand, if we're going to grow, which that's what we all want, we want to grow, we're going to need to make things easier. And something like Flame that can take the wallets and the 50-digit numbers that everybody's got for their keys, and just take all of that stuff and hide it, make it simple, will really help with growth. That'll be super awesome. That's really what we need. I know that it's probably quite an undertaking, from my understanding of the technical side, which I'm not necessarily the best even, but I definitely understand that's going to be a lot of work. So we're really happy that you guys are tackling that, and we're really happy that we can come along, and we're here for helping make sure it goes right. It's the, as you kind of said already, it's really the community, the audience, the gamers that need to be heard. So we'll bring our community and get them heard. We'll bring other communities in. That way all the voices can be heard, and that Flame can be the best experience that it can possibly be.
Nice. Yeah, 100% agree. So Rick, why don't you share with us kind of what was that aha moment where you were there with Gabe Newell and over there at Valve, and that you guys realized the basically the problem that you guys could solve with Steam back in the day, and like what was like how kind of seeing how we're correlating the current market conditions for Web3 and stuff. I think it'd be fun for people to see, like, what was that aha moment where you guys were like, oh, there's this big problem, we can solve it, and there's this massive opportunity here.
Yeah, so my background, like forever ago, like I'm super old, so forever ago when I was a younger guy, my job was to build embedded hardware and software. So think, like this was before cell phones, but think about everything it takes to build a cell phone. So all the hardware, analog hardware, digital circuitry, and all the firmware. And I ended up working at a microprocessor emulator company, which for that type of engineer, that's like the premier place to be, because we actually built tools that emulated all the fastest, latest and greatest processors. So the Pentium chips at the time, AMD, Motorola, of course, Intel. And we were building these super expensive boxes. And one of the problems that happened was our boxes that used to sell for about $70,000 per engineer were just simply too expensive. And so the vendors like Intel came around and said, we need to make this much cheaper, because we can't sell new chips because nobody wants to spend $75,000 per engineer to upgrade to use our new chips. So we had this, we were the largest emulator company in the world. And suddenly our company was dying because our $75,000 boxes came down to $25,000. Then they came down to $5,000. And we had the same number of engineers we were selling to. So our company was dying. And so I was a hardcore gamer. I had a bunch of friends that were making games. I always wanted to get into that space, just really didn't have a chance to. And as part of our company crumbling, I got a hold of somebody at Nintendo who happened to be right across the street from us, and got this guy's ear and spent a bunch of time architecting a development tool for them. They were building what was codenamed Dolphin, eventually became the GameCube. And so I'll just speed through this, but I convinced him we could build their emulation tools. That was the first time in history that anybody outside of Japan was actually building tools for Nintendo. And then down the street, a different direction, 2 blocks away, was Microsoft, their Red West campus, which was full of the Xbox guys. And at the time, Xbox was just a rumored thing because they hadn't actually talked about it yet. So once we had a press release with Nintendo, I found the guy at Microsoft, and we got their contract as well. And I had then officially gone from being a VP of engineering for the company, overseeing all of engineering, to now a general manager in charge of the gaming unit at Applied Microsystems. And so now that I was having to worry about things like P&Ls and stuff that I had never done before, I was worried that we would sell a bunch of these dev kits, because if you were going to make a game on Xbox or the GameCube, you had to buy one of these. You just did. Mm-hmm. And but I knew we'd sell them very quickly, and so I was looking for other things to do. Started looking at putting ads in games. This was before ads were being done, and we were injecting them live, so I could show ads to you in a certain sequence. I can make sure you saw an ad for a certain period of time. A bunch of important things for ad agencies who are interested in having ads in different products. And while I was doing that, it was driving me insane, because I was developing all this code myself. It was driving me insane that I had to keep patching the game. And it just so happened that the game was Half-Life, because I had the mod kit and stuff. And so I reached out to Gabe and said, I need more access. Here's what I'm doing. I need lower level access to Half-Life. And I was hoping I could get a source code license from you guys. And Gabe said, yeah, okay, you're like one of 1,000 people that come to me every year with these amazing ideas, but I'll give you a shot. And you've got 6 weeks, and if you have something cool, then we can continue to talk. And if not, you can move on and continue your business. So I was working hard to get ready for showing him what I had, which included the very core of Steam. We had the ability to update the game on the fly while the game was running, which is a little different than how Steam works now, but that was the original intent. And so about 3 weeks in, he calls and says, hey, I want to see what you're up to. So I did this fancy presentation. I had planned for an hour presentation to Gabe, 2 computers. One was a server, one was their game. And I got 5 minutes into it, and he says, hey, I'm hungry. Let's go get lunch. And my heart sank, because I thought, oh, my God, I just bombed. And that's actually not what happened. We got to lunch, and he said, you are solving a problem that we have for our gamers, which is people go buy Counter-Strike in a store, they get it home, they install it, which takes like 15, 20 minutes to install off disk. And the very first thing they're told when they're excited to play our game is, I'm sorry, you're out of date. Go to this website and, hope you know what version of the game you have, because you have to go from A to B or B to F or Q to Z. And it was just a nightmare trying to get somebody actually in and able to play Counter-Strike. And so the auto patching stuff that I had done to solve that same problem for my needs was something he was interested in. So he hired me. I hired my team. We quickly got sued by Applied Microsystems. Valve protected us from all of that. And we didn't actually have jobs at Valve. He did the same thing. He said, I'll give you guys your team 6 months. And if you can come up with something amazing, then we're going to keep going. If you can't, then we're done. And about, I think 2 months in, we had Half-Life running from scratch off of a 512K connection in under a minute. And you couldn't even have installed the game that fast on a CD player. And so he laughed and he said, all right, you guys all have jobs. Now let's go build this thing. And that ended up becoming Steam. We were told all along the way that we were going to fail. Big companies, big brick and mortar stores would tell us, no, come on, who's going to download a game over a 2 gigabyte game over the internet? That's never going to happen. And people want to touch the boxes, and and so the thing is that this was the first aha moment for solving a user problem. But then the other problem we solved was at that point in time when we sold a copy of Half-Life 1, it sold for $50. And by the time all the marketing and the brick and mortar cut and all the cuts got taken out, we were lucky to get $12 for that game. And we had the highest royalties in the business. And the thing a lot of people don't understand today is that back in those days, you paid for marketing, you paid for cutting of all the discs, you paid for damaged goods when they got sent back. And then publishers would often kind of play with the books. So somebody else would release a game with that publisher, it would bomb. And so they would take all those back from the retail store and then send our game out instead. And yet not tell us about that. So we didn't get paid all those royalties. And if you were a gamer, the other big problem you had was, or if you were a developer, the other big problem you had is the same thing as today, is discoverability. Unless you had a huge marketing budget, your game at GameStop was going to be way back in the corner on a shelf where nobody would see it. Only the games that had huge budgets got to the end caps and stuff and actually be seen. So those two things alone, we were like, this is going to be huge because we're solving two major problems with the industry today. We let developers now take 70% of the money instead of $8, 16%, which is what they had been taking. And we made the experience for users, way better. And then we just kept building on that. We added, the friends stuff. We added the chat. We added the in-game overlays where you can invite people to your game. You can chat with your buddies while you're in a game of Counter-Strike. See reviews. I do the same thing you do when I go get a game on Steam. First thing I look at is what the user reviews are. Now, those can be messed with. Obviously, that's still kind of a game itself. But generally, they're pretty good indicators of, how good the game is. So that's why when we fast forward to today, I always felt like, this was awesome. And I get to be the guy that invented Steam. And that's amazing. And I kind of figured that lightning would only strike once in my lifetime. But we fast forward, and I'm starting to, play with building crypto games and looking into what it takes to put NFTs and crypto stuff into my games. And I'm just like, oh my God, like who can figure this stuff out? Like if you're just, and I was in the weeds, like I understood how to mint NFTs and do a lot of this stuff. And from a gamer standpoint, I was like, wow, this is never gonna work for, like, I have two sons in their 20s who are hardcore gamers. They would never go through all of that stuff to play a game, right? They just never would. And so I was like, wow, here we are again with not the exact problem, but at a high level, it's the same problem, which is, onboarding to a game experience. Back then it was, how do I figure out how to get the right version of the game and, downloading all the stuff and spending a huge amount of time. Today, it's just the complexity of having wallets and understanding what's happening and what is wrapping and what, all the things and gas fees. Like, I don't even, as a regular gamer, you don't know what any of that stuff is. So it just was really interesting the day that kind of hit me. It's like, here we go again. Like, we're set up to do Steam for Web3 because this is exactly the same thing that we need in this space and taking care of the user issues like ownership. And, it all just totally makes sense. And the thing is that part of my personal thing is getting to a point where Flame is so usable that we have a massive influx of PC and console gamers. That's the win state for me. And it's a win state really for the entire crypto gaming space. Because right now, even the big games like Splinterlines, like they're kind of running out of people to target to play their game. So their user cap is limited by just the number of people interested in crypto games. And so part of this is for everybody because you know what? The first 50 million we bring in is going to be a massive step in the number of crypto gamers. Then the next 200 million we bring in is going to be another major step. And so this just generally helps everybody. It also will start helping attract more of the traditional developers that gamers are already familiar with. Right now, there's kind of this, I'll call it the free to play experience. Like you have some of the bigger companies that are out there making games and they're slapping crypto on, and the problem with that is that their users react in a negative way. And I think a lot of the reason for that is that people have a game they know and they love, and suddenly, the man comes along and is going to try to extract more money from them by slapping crypto on. And I think that's the wrong way to do this. I think we should be building games where crypto is native to the game. And that means designing it in. I mean, you guys understand all this, but having crypto designed in from the beginning, having NFTs be an active role in the game, making it so that all NFTs have value, even if they're commons and they're not, like in our games, you're going to be able to melt those down and get components to level up the NFTs that you care about, right? So getting all those gamers here means high quality games. And unfortunately, a lot of games in this space are not actually games to begin with. They're actually kind of speculation tools where I'm going to make some money on NFTs, or I'm going to hope that this currency or token goes way up in value. And some of those companies have kind of gotten smart that, gaming is kind of where all this is going and is at. But then what they do is they just kind of stick some gaming components around their speculation tool. And that's not going to, fool or have the PC and console gamers coming. So what we need high quality games. We need lots of them so that the PC and console gamers are on their way. And, doing things like you guys are doing with the NFTs, making that integral to the game and the experience is really important. And just kind of one thing that I really, one thing that changed me at Valve by being there was because I used to have lunch like every day with Gabe. And so I learned a huge amount of stuff. And so like caring about the customer, and the next thing is something that he taught me that I've used a lot, which is Valve doesn't make video games. They don't. A lot of people think they do, but they don't. What they make are gaming experiences. And that is everything from the time you first find out about Valve and one of their games until, the end where you're done playing games, or, it's like, how am I treated as a customer? What happens if there's a problem? Can I expect that their games are high quality? Like all these things are part of an experience that you have. And, for me and the teams that I managed, once I got everybody convinced of that and thinking in those ways, you can see that the games just get better. And I think you can tell largely in games that were crafted by people that love what they're doing versus games that are crafted by people that are, watching the clock and doing kind of what's necessary. So anyway, that's a lot of talk, but that's kind of how I got to where I am. I kind of can't believe that we can do, basically Steam over again in the Web3 space. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. That was really good. I feel like I don't know. I just put like a little plug into my brain and just like downloaded all that really cool information that you gave me. My biggest takeaway is that when you have the right intentions and when you have the right people and you build a product, you can actually solve multitudes of problems or some very key important problems. And that can just have second order, third order effects. And like you were talking about with Steam, some of those other second, third order effects was that I didn't have to check for the version numbers. It automatically knew the version numbers to update the software. I just am now thinking about that. Used to be a nightmare. It's like I have version, 2.B30BAC. It's like I need to go on like file whatever it is and go find, you know, the 0.1 higher than this. Where the hell is it? That was a nightmare. That problem got solved, you know, basically, like, for the most part, eliminating the publishers for a large degree of your sales, then just allows you to reap that profit and from you know, the digital sell side. I'm sorry, well, you know what I mean, not digital sell side, but from basically you're able to get more of the market share of the digital sell side, and that saves you money on all the marketing and other stuff like that. So and in addition to, you know, servicing gamers and providing those things, and absolutely speaking my heart when you're saying, you know, we create game experiences, not just like video game products. You know, definitely speaks to my heart, because, you know, the way I see it is that we're, you know, you see this a lot of other products or games where they're just like, hey, we got a product, come buy it. Then once the sale is made, they're like, yes, like we made the sale, we got the customer. And then, you know, what happens after that? It's not always so great, but if you have this experience for your customers and for the players and the people using your software, and they feel like they're being taken care of, and they can tell that you actually care about their experience as a gamer, and they feel like they're having fun with what they're doing, and things are always being made easier for them. You know, we have our partners who help us make our smart contracts, and well, they make our smart contracts on our website, Apex, run by Victor Lopez. And they, you know, they just consistently prove to us that they care about our players as much as we do. Sometimes they just put out this little feature and they're like, oh, we didn't even ask for this. They just improved the player experience. So we're like, that's how we know we're with the right partners, is because they care about this just as much as we do. And they're looking for things to help improve the experience. So so that really just speaks a lot to me. And I think I can see where all that comes into, you know, the Steam experience. And I sometimes, you know, kind of hate Valve for not making, you know, Half-Life 3 by now. But otherwise, I guess, you know, they have a Half-Life Alyx and like Half-Life, you know, 2.5 or whatever it was. But I mean, in terms of like Steam, it really is a great piece of software. And sometimes I browse it just for fun, you know, really just to see, oh, is there anything I haven't seen yet? I love, like, you know, giant like sandbox, you know, factory type economic systems and builders, and you know, system, you know, Valve, you know, systems like Valve, or sorry, like Steam, allow me to kind of find this a little bit easier. It's like, oh, Satisfactory has, you know, 100,000 overwhelmingly positive votes. Something must be there. You know, yeah. that must be good, rather than going down to Epic and being like, oh, well, I got no feedback. I basically have what they're putting in front of me first, and that's all I got to run with.
Yeah. Your comment about thinking back in time and remembering now what the experience was like with having to patch a game, that's perfect, right? Because today you're not even thinking about that. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. Steam solved those problems, and you're way past that. And, you know, and that again is coming from looking at what users have to go through and then building a product that solves it. The success of that is later when somebody is like, oh yeah, I remember we used to have this problem, but we don't deal with that anymore. And that's where we think we're going to be in a couple of years with Flame, is that people will be like, oh yeah, I remember those days where you had to care about a wallet and do all this stuff. We want to be in that same position.
Yeah, and that's just what was kind of hitting my brain over, you know, since I was introduced to you guys, was and the Flame platform was, I was like, oh my God, you know, if they're, you know, if Flame allows us to not have to worry about like what blockchain we're on, and we're just in a curated system with a bunch of other games, and the user only has to worry about one login account, like that's going to basically solve like 95% of our issue, which is like user adoption, and as well as you know, as well as promotions. And we also feel very confidently about our game. We think it's a lot of fun, and so if people want to come vote on our game, we're going to welcome them to. I think we have like 3,500 registered users, and I think about 430 daily actives right now. And in terms of, you know, retention, we think that's really not that bad. What is the percentage there, Josh, in terms of retained users?
Like 12.
Is that like 12? Yeah, 12%. Yeah, I think that's not terribly bad. I mean, 12% might not seem like great numbers to some people, but when you're talking about, users that have come, checked out your game, bought an asset, and are still around daily, like that's a lot. And we have and I think almost half of those, close to half of those, are still have assets that are earning in the game. So they still have game assets. And I don't know if you guys really looked at our game all that much, be able to educate yourselves on how it works. But something I feel that we do very well that a lot of other blockchain games don't do well is that we really focus on the fun, and we found a way to make the economics work with the fun. Because my philosophy was, if you if you come into a crypto game where you own your assets, then you're probably only going to stick around for two reasons. One is because it's making you a lot of money, or it's making you some money and you like that, or two, because it's fun. If it doesn't have either of those things, you're not sticking around. No money, no fun, no player. So what we realize is we can't necessarily control the first one. We can't necessarily control whether or not a game is profitable. But what we can control is whether or not the game is fun. So, but what we can actually think we can have some degree of influence and control on is sustainability. So we've used economics inside of our game to create sustainability for what is the most fun actions. And that has actually made a really strong economy for our game. I was just looking at some of the two other biggest games on the Wax blockchain right now, which is Blockchain Brawlers and Million on Mars. And over the last month, I think both of those are down at least 50%, and we're not. I think we're maybe down maybe like 20%, 25%. And I think what's kind of providing that sustainability, even through some very slow growth, is just that sustainability that we've built in with the assets and the economics, which is like, hey, you want castles, which is basically one of our most coveted assets because it gives you royal seals. Royal seals get you access to the best stuff in the game. Well, those are going to become more scarce over time. So there's a lot of our users who are racing to get more castles now because they know that later castles are going to be harder to get, and they're the access into doing all the really other cool stuff in our game without having to essentially pay like, $2.50 every week or something for your hero to fight. So anyways, I know I've kind of talked a bit length about us. I would like to talk about what the user experience will be like on Flame. How do you see it in terms of like, hey, so I'm a user, I come in and I put in like my email address, I put in a password to create an account. Then what happens? Do I get like a key that is like my key account or the key to my account, like 2FA or something like that? And then does the wallet then basically give me, or rather does Flame basically give me everything that I could want in terms of give me like a Binance, wallet inside of my account? Does it give me a Ethereum wallet inside of my account? All this other stuff, Wax, kind of take us through that particular journey, what it's like for the user.
Sure. So right now, the first time you start Flame, you create an account, just like you said, and you give us the pertinent information for logging in. And you don't actually have to log in using our system. Again, you can come in through Facebook or a number of other social logins. Mm-hmm. Once you do that, your wallet's created for you. It's maintained by us. You can move assets into it. You can use your recovery phrase if you want to get your current wallet assets put into the wallet that we have. But we maintain everything else that's necessary. In terms of like extracting your money, if you want to do that through Binance, you can do that. But we're going to have facilities to do that ourselves as well. So you won't have to do that. What you'll see is when you go look at a game, it's very clear what you have to have in order to play the game. And it'll show you need to have, this NFT or a NFT, this kind of currency, whatever. And it'll show you what you currently have and what you need to have. And if you want to play the game, if you go try to launch it, it's going to walk you through the steps of acquiring the other pieces that you need. We have an expert mode, so anybody that's crypto savvy that wants to see it can actually see all the individual transactions that are taking place. But the normal mode will be, that's all going to be hidden from the user, so that they don't have to worry about those things. We're not trying to hide or obfuscate anything. We're just trying to make it so that, you know, as a more typical gamer, you don't have to care what's going on. But if you do care, you can certainly have a look.
Nice. So they're going to make their account, and they can use like even their social logins to create an account. And so, is there like any kind of key recovery phrase for the whole account? Like if they want to have something that, I don't know, says it's specifically theirs, or is it always just going to be like the login, however they create their login?
So it'll be the login, but we're going to have two-factor authentication that will allow you to make sure your account's secure from being stolen by anybody else. And one thing I do want to mention is that there will be some transactions that happen that we will raise to the surface for every gamer, because if somebody's trying to buy something super expensive, we want to make sure that the intended person is actually doing it. So we're going to bring up a thing that'll require you to sign the transaction, you know, to make sure that you're the person that's authorizing this purchase. There'll be a checkbox. If you don't want to keep doing that, you can check it and say, you know, don't ever ask me this again. But what we're trying to do is walk the line between high security and high usability.
And I think I heard in the other AMA that the way this is all happening is basically behind the scenes, it's all on chain. So basically, when you're, when you're using your Binance wallet, or rather, when you have your Flame account and you want to access, Binance, or whether you want to, access Ethereum or Wax, that all of this is actually kind of happening in a secure blockchain environment. I mean, I guess obviously it has to be, but this was just something I was kind of wrapping my brain around, because it's like one of those things when it sounds like too good to be true. I'm like, well, I can just have like one account that actually allows me to just use all these other accounts, and all you probably need is just like the base of what's required. Like, it just sounds so amazing. You know what I mean? Exactly what everybody wants.
Yeah. So to begin with, we are multi-chain, not cross-chain. So cross-chain is coming, probably be towards the end of the year or early next year. So you're still going to have to deal in specific currencies, as opposed to doing direct conversion, kind of on the fly. So that's something that's coming later, but we think that the first step is going to solve probably 80% of the problems that people have, right out of the chute.
Okay, awesome. And so there's so many questions I want to ask. I can't settle on one of them, but and well, how about you, Josh? Do you have a question or anything that's kind of piqued your mind there?
Oh, you know me. I'm a workaholic, so I'm multitasking and listening and having a great time.
That's
no,
fine.
this is great.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for the user experience. So there are even so this is an interesting thing that I'll bring up. There are a lot of games on other blockchains besides Wax. I personally think the Wax is way under adopted for what it can do. There are a lot of users that need to realize that Wax is a lot better than the chain they're using right now. But I won't I'll get off of that soapbox and let somebody else get on it later. But there are some games on other chains. Maybe it's not the chain that's as good, but the games are very good. And I like them and I find it interesting. But I don't have time to manage a bunch of other wallets. I have spent so much time developing with castles, and sometimes I consult with other projects. There are a lot of people that like what we've done with castles, and they ask for a little help. They ask for some feedback. I do a lot of things with collaborations, and so when I see a game on Binance or on Solana, which not necessarily great today, but there are other chain games that I find interesting. I backed one. I remember, I think it's on, what is it that, it was called, oh goodness. It was a Kickstarter NFT game, and it was way before NFT games were even really getting started. Very, very interesting. But there's so many different games that I'm interested in, and I don't have time. I really, really don't. So something like Flame actually frees me up to not worry about that. You would think I might be the one person who would go into the advanced mode, but to be perfectly honest, I probably would skip it and let you guys hide it all for me and just let me play. You know, be surprised how many of us, even who are technically proficient, will just enjoy the simplicity. I'm really looking for the simplicity of user experience. That sounds fantastic to me. So that's, I guess that's my input so far. I'm really liking that. I really can't wait to get my hands on it. Somebody fast track me into that waiting list. Come on.
Yeah. So I would expect that over time, that little checkbox eventually goes away, because we're doing it right now primarily to be transparent about what's going on. We don't want, I mentioned multiple times that people need to trust, and what we're trying to build is trust with the community, and not at least having an option where people can, once or twice or how many other times it takes them to say, okay, they're doing the right things. I think that's a big part of the reason why we even have that checkbox there to begin with. But I expect that once people are comfortable and understand that this is a trusted site and the things we do are trusted, I don't expect many people to really care about all the steps necessary, because you just want to play the game, right? It's like play. How long does it take to go from the play button to in the game? That's what really matters for gamers.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, 100%. I think, this whole early adoption phase was very, very popular with like the really technical people who want to have control over their crypto and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people who say, like, not my keys, not my wallet, and stuff like that. And maybe there is something to that. However, I think, for mass adoption to happen, there does, that I think actually the full decentralization does have some issues, namely that a lot of the people who exploit the blockchain the most are very happy to have decentralized systems, because they can write scripts and contracts and automate, the playing of some of these games, the acquiring of some drops. I've seen many drops, of assets that eventually became worth, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars, start by basically getting totally bought up by bots in the first place. There was another gaming guild called Yield Guild. Guild is basically one of these really big gaming cryptos, and they said they're going to do like a big drop of their token for their community. Literally called it community token drop. And then they had, they held it. They had this whole IDO, initial drop offering or something like that. And what ended up happening, like 3 smart contracts went and bought like 95% of those tokens, millions worth of dollars, inside a very short amount of time span. I was inside the Discord, and the Yield Guild team was just kind of like, huh. Hey guys, it was a big success. We sold like $4 million worth of tokens, and everyone else was livid. All the community, like, what happened to the community drop? Everyone's like, these are smart contracts that bought everything. And so there's a certain amount of exploitation that comes with having everything fully decentralized. And, I like about the prospect of this being able to have one login that accesses all of these is that, that hopefully we don't run into what we've seen. One of the number one problems with our community is there are people who will try to prey on the gaming communities, and they'll basically send like a Discord link to a user, and they'll use our logo. They'll pretend to be us, and they'll be like, oh yeah, here's a free drop, click on this link, and it'll be like misspelled just like by one letter, and the people will click on it. And we've had probably like $40,000 worth of assets be stolen from actual players in this way. And it's just because the blockchain is open, and we didn't really know that we were getting into that kind of situation when we first built here. We're just like, oh, that's all it takes for a scammer, an exploiter, to basically steal all their assets, it really sucks. So we've taken measures the best we can to protect against that. But it sounds like the system that you have, could solve that problem where someone, gets a Discord message, they click a link, and it just doesn't take them to this decentralized part of the blockchain where they get all their assets stolen. Instead, they're behind your wall of their account, and so they don't get exploited to that. Does that sound right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that is my number one thing. Like, I tell people this all the time inside of a company. Like, my number one problem to solve in the next year or two is consumer protection, because I didn't sign on board to basically tell my players, oh, well, just make sure you don't click on the wrong link, because if you do, you're screwed and there's nothing I can do. Sorry. It's a really, really sucky thing to do, and it's not what I got into this game for. I got into this company to provide people the ability to own their assets and to basically call their own shots, and so to have that weakness be there inside of decentralized systems, I'm like, if I have to choose between having someone have a centralized wallet and having them click a link and get all their assets stolen. And this is getting past like Google ads and stuff like that too, where Star Atlas would like have people put up advertisements being like, oh yeah, we are Star Atlas, come buy these really cheap tips from us. And people would go there, and it wasn't their real site. It basically got approved by Google ads, and people were following these links that were lies, but it looks legit because you're on Google ads, and there's nothing anybody can do about it except say too bad for you. And that's just unacceptable to me. So there's just multitudes of reasons why I'm absolutely in love with what you're building, and so I want to help you guys grow up, make it strong. If there's anything I can do to help you guys, let me know. And feedback, and we'd love to be on your platform, and I think you let people vote on our project, they'll upvote it. Overwhelmingly positive, right, Josh? Right, guys?
Oh yeah.
So the same goes for you guys in your community. I mean, I'm dead serious when I say that we focus on players. So if you guys have ideas or things we could do better, or suggestions for things we haven't thought about yet, we have a roadmap. You can go look at the roadmap on our website. But if there's things that aren't being covered, or you think there's something that's higher priority, let us know. I can't guarantee we'll do every single thing, but we're going to do our best to give the community what they want. And I also just happened, speaking of that, I see somebody asked about eventually, where'd it go? Yeah, perks. So Crypto AI asked about perks. So we're going to have, oh, sorry, I guess Lily already answered it, but yeah,
you should say it out loud because it was in the chat.
We're going to have achievements. We're going to have an achievement system and perks and avatars and badges and all. That's just part of being the whole package of what Steam is. Those are things that players love to have, and so those will be things we're going to give them.
And someone asked what my work background was. It's not super interesting. I said I was in the nonprofit space for a while, so non-gaming. I was still gaming in my free time, but I ran a school for a while. I raised money for nonprofits. I did all sorts of stuff, like teaching-wise. I taught kids, but I gotta say, working in gaming is much more fun.
No, I think that's awesome. I think education is probably one of the number one problems that we have to solve socioeconomically in the United States. So you said you live in, I'm not sure if I should say, but you do.
Oh, that's fine.
But yeah. But I think one of the number one things we need to solve, currently, I think, is this whole issue around education. Where I think I just heard today we're like in the lower third of economically developed countries in terms of performance when it comes to education. That's terrible. That's awful. I'm like, oh my God. And I can tell, just looking at Instagram or out my window, I can kind of tell that we're not keeping up with stuff. So it's very important work that you're doing there. Let's see. actually, yeah, you did answer the question that I was gonna jump on to there. Yeah, so this all sounds so amazing. Like I can't wait to kind of see how things come together. It sounds like you're really focusing, Rick and Lily, on the things that matter. To us, especially as people who actually want to be on this platform and solving this particular problem. And it takes a load off me because I can just really focus on what's important to us, which is making a great game experience. And if with you guys creating a platform that allows us to basically get to the gamers, in a very easy way, then that's all we have to do is just keep building better, more fun game, and we don't have to worry about so much of the other stuff. You guys would be surprised like how much I worry about the marketing side of things, because growth has been really slow. Josh was talking about why aren't people coming to Wax. It's very simple to me. It's just that the Wax team isn't really marketing, and so we're in terms of competitiveness, we are not on the most competitive blockchain. I think we are on one of the best in terms of performance, like actual technical performance. But when it comes to marketing, we're really not on the best blockchain. And that's just, I don't mince words. It's just the way it is. I was talking to the partnerships over at Wax, and I was like, hey, you guys want to jump on a call and other things? Instead, I just got an email replying to part of my question, but not the part about just like having a conversation. I'm just like, well, no freaking wonder. One of the top gaming, collections, I can't even get a conversation with them. And then I'm like, I got to email William Quigley, who's or message him on LinkedIn, William Quigley, who created Wax, and be like, yo, your marketing team, your partnership team didn't even want to talk to me. What's up? Do they suck? Like, just, I want to know. So just not even going to mince words. Just let me know. Do they suck? It's got to be.
It's a yes or no question.
And it really is. It's like, yeah, because if they suck, you got to fire them. And but we're sort of in this space right now where everything has to be very deliberate, because that's the only way it's all going to go. Were you about to say something, Rick?
Well,
I heard somebody's voice.
Rick. I was going to say something. I was just going to say that, look, I said it before, I'm non-technical, but from my perspective, being in the Flame Discord and jumping around to various other Discords and seeing communities and how they talk to each other, but it's pretty much no contest, just in terms of enthusiasm, that Castles is one of them, Farming Tales, a couple others. Like the communities are so loud in a good way and enthusiastic and so fully committed, right? And I think that might be because it is like a smaller blockchain. But when I see Wax, and I'm really not just like blowing smoke here, like I'm like, oh, nice, it's cool. Like that means there are probably like some good folks in there, right? Because I've had nothing but good experiences with games on Wax. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, there have been some good ones and some really terrible ones, actually. But I think Farming Tales, I don't really keep up with them a lot, but it looks like they've been building. I think they did decently in terms of income last year. They released some drops during the height of the bull run last year, but they've been building on top of their game. And there are some developers here who have been building like Million on Mars, and luckily some of the early rug pull projects like Farmer's World. They've kind of gone the way of the dodo, and those same developers try to come back with several different projects under different names. They basically try to make copycat projects, and over time, finally, Atomic Hub was like, "Wait a minute, like it's the same kind of system. You guys say you're from a different country, and you're showing us credentials that you're from a different country, but we're not falling for it this time. You guys may say you're in Sweden now, but you've done this too many times that we're pretty sure you're the same people, just trying to do the same thing and do the same.
But this time we have glasses and a big mustache.
It's
very different.
Right, exactly. Like they were trying to sneak past it. So there have been good ones and bad ones, and unfortunately, that's kind kind of the space we're in, where you know, it's very easy to unfortunately exploit gamers, and why it's really important, I think, for the real projects kind of band together, and especially a platform for like yours, where people can go to the projects that you've seen the community and the way they react to things, and you know, whether they are positive or whether or not they are toxic, and you know, whether you need to give things a deeper look. You know, our in terms of our game, we build everything around fun, number one, and two, scarcity. So you know, we know that players like to open packs. That's fun for them. So we built our economy around that. They like to craft things. We built our economy around that, and we're starting to get into now something that is more about self-expression with our heroes. We have unloaded a lot of our capital into making these really customizable heroes with 3 different heroes, 11 different customizable pieces from common to mythic. It's like thousands of different art pieces, how you can customize them. It's going to be amazing, and then be able to battle with those and then PvP with them. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, I know, just kind of went on my own little
what is
what do
a
you call
stream
it?
if not for soapboxes, right?
Right. Well, let me. You were talking about just kind of shooting the breeze earlier, so let me ask, what is everybody's like favorite video game right now? Rick, you want to start? What's your favorite video game right now?
So right now, I'm actually playing World of Warcraft Ascension.
Oh,
which is
that's
not
the latest expansion coming out, or is out?
no.
Which one is it?
Side World of Warcraft. Calling it a server is not quite right. It's basically World of Warcraft that's a classless version of the game. So instead of going in saying I'm going to be a priest or a warlock, you can actually say, oh, I want this skill from a warrior and this one from a rogue and this one. And so you can really custom create your character. So I play that with my sons. I was big into Fortnite with them. Most of my gaming is done with them. That's kind of how I stay, super tight with them. They're both, well, one just graduated from college. The other one's still in college. So I still get to sort of be the cool dad by playing games with them. So, yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. You can bond with your sons though, and play games with them.
Yeah.
And I'm putting
everything. So it's
what's that?
we have chat going and everything. So it's the next best thing to actually being with them, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's really cool. I remember I used to play with my cousin when the first headsets came out. I'm like, this is so weird. I can talk to you and play the game. I remember we used to only do this every Thanksgiving, but now it's like right now. Yeah, that's cool. How about you, Lily? What's your favorite game right now?
Well, I'm a glutton for punishment. So right now, other than Fortnite, which I do play quite a bit, I'm playing the Demon Souls PS5 remake. I got hooked on Elden Ring, beat that, then proceeded to beat Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and what's the other one? Bloodborne. And now I am on Demon Souls. So it's really punishing. I don't like it, but I also love it.
I mean, that's spoken like a true Souls-like player, right?
What can I do? It's like I get angry in a way. Oh, hold on. James Inaj said Fortnite build or no build. This is way more important to talk about than Demon Souls. So here's the thing. I always thought like, oh, I'm not very good at building. I don't like building because I wasn't like a Minecraft person, so it's not inherent. But then I started playing the no build, and it's like I have these instincts to put up a wall when someone shoots at me, and it's like I can't. So I'm build all the way. Sorry, Rick.
How about you, Rick? Are you build or no build?
I gotta say I'm no build because I think for me watching people build and the mechanic the way it's built out that's softcore mode. Because you can be shooting somebody, they can put up walls to block your bullets faster than you can tear them down. And when it's like 3-on-1, I play with my sons and we're taking down one person, and they can continue to build and repair walls faster than we can take them down. That's not a shooter. I mean, come on. It's like, get rid of that stuff. Be a grown up, shoot me in the face, whatever. Don't throw 1,000 walls up and then say somehow you won for that, because eventually you're going to die anyway, right? But I just think that part's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but then you can build. But that's when you got to build over them and jump down and shotgun as you're falling into their little nest.
Yeah, well, like I said, they eventually go down because we don't just sit there and we'll start flanking them and stuff, and they can't build walls everywhere at that speed. So, yeah. But it just seems like a exploited mechanic to me. If they were building forts and building things, like I'm not opposed to that part. What I'm specifically opposed to is the walls have more health as a shield than the bullets and rockets and everything else we're throwing at them can do. It's just, and I've even seen some that use scripts so they can they'll build a wall, break the wall down, fire, put the wall back up, all in one swift move, and it's like ridiculous to watch it.
Yeah, it can be really annoying. I'm with you, Rick, with the no build for somewhat different reasons. I don't really care whether or not if it's exploitable or in the way that you're talking about, or just being, what's the word, trixies? I don't know, being a trixies hobbit about it. But what I don't like about it is I'm more of an old school first-person shooter gamer, where if I can see it, I can shoot it and I can kill it. I don't like this new dimension of like building something. If I was maybe like 10 or 12 years old, or even 15 or 18 years old, maybe I could get into it. I'd be like, oh, I got to be like everybody else, and like be smart and learn how to build. But I'm not 18 years old anymore. I'm like, I've set my ways, and now I have to think about like how this whole build thing is going to work with the hit points and how fast I build the thing. I'm like, I'd just rather eliminate this level of complexity in my shooters, because I like where my shooters are at, and I like the way that Fortnite put it in, get the loot, upgrade, do it really quick and fast, and then go kill, go shoot people. They pretty simple stuff. But this build thing, it's a level of complexity that if I was 18, maybe I would pick up, but I'm just not anymore. I got other things to do than dedicate my time to learning how to play build mode.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to build, go play Minecraft, right? That's what it is.
I strongly disagree, but what I will say, to your point, those new steel walls, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. They've been in the game for a few weeks now. Those are egregious. So you basically can just build any wall, and then on top of it, you put a steel plate. And that thing is like, forget about it. You got to unload 100 bullets or more into it to do anything.
How about you, Josh? Build or no build?
So this is where the conversation becomes interesting. I don't play shooters at all. I've never downloaded or touched Fortnite even a little bit. Had no.
You're out of the company. You're out. No,
yeah, sorry. No shooters for me. That's never been my thing. I played, when I was younger, playing with other people, I'd jump in games of like original Halo and some of the old things, but only when other people were playing it. They had an extra controller, I'd sit down and I'd suck. But shooters, I just never really got into it. I'm much more of a strategy RPG. These days I'm a workaholic, right? So I don't even hardly play games. But when I do, I'm playing with my kids. I've got 4 little ones. All our community knows about that already, but so it's usually my son. He's 9 and he likes to play everything Mario. He likes to play Minecraft, and and he's decent. For a 9-year-old, he's pretty decent. So he kicks my butt at Mario, but he's still not very good at Minecraft. So I can kind of go in there and show him what's up. So that's kind of more my jam, but I rarely play anymore. I just don't have time. I like to watch other people play. I like to read about it because I love gaming so much. I just, I get tired and I'm laying in my bed and I'll watch somebody else playing games that I like. That's my experience these days. Maybe that makes me a little bit boring, but it just kind of is my life at the moment.
I will say that your day of reckoning is coming, because when my kids were little and I played with them, of course it was pretty easy to win. And then they got better and better and better. And, you know, I used to play Half-Life Deathmatch with them, 2 of them versus me. And it didn't take very long before the 2 of them were able to overtake me. And then, you know, I don't know, probably 7, 8 years ago, they just started kicking my butt, no matter what game. In fact, one of my sons, I used to play League of Legends a lot. And he would not only be playing on his screen, he'd be looking over like, Dad, hit F4. You know, he was always like telling me how to play my game better while he was still kicking ass with, you know, with his. So it's a humbling experience when you find out that, you know, your kids are now owning you.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
You made your kid, right? You made the child. And so in some ways, it's you that's really good. In like a weird roundabout. I don't know.
Hey, that's the way I'm going to take it. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to take it too. If you know, my son wants to, you know, he wants to grow up and be, you know, he's probably like most 9-year-olds. He wants to grow up and be a professional video game player and streamer and, you know, all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, more power to you. I don't know if it's going to happen, but, you know, you can have that dream as long as you want. But hey, if he succeeds, then, you know, I'll just be proud of him. That's all it is.
Nice. My favorite games, it's almost an addiction. I sometimes can't help but play a game of like Hearthstone Battlegrounds, specifically Hearthstone Battlegrounds every like day or two. There's something about Hearthstone Battlegrounds that is just really pleasing to my brain. There's like, I have a certain amount of control over the outcome, but not full control. And it's just like a little like weakness in my
What's the
psyche.
Between
Hearthstone Battlegrounds is auto chess, more of like an auto chess game.
You just said the magic word. I didn't know they had auto chess.
Yeah, that's what Hearthstone Battlegrounds is. It's auto chess, and I've been playing it for a couple of years now, and I really got into it during the pandemic because, like, I just find myself like, you know, I used to have a night job or what do you call it, graveyard shift, and before I started this company, and it'd be like, well, I just can't go out to see anybody because, you know, apparently COVID will kill me. So what do? Just play some Hearthstone Battlegrounds. That really started that whole thing. But I sometimes just kind of help myself. It's like one of those things where, you know, it's like I'm tired. I don't feel like working anymore. I went out for a run. I'm just like, what up? Like, I just don't want to turn my brain off. Oh, look, Hearthstone Battlegrounds. I'm going to just, you know, play this little thing of this auto chess, and I'm really good at it. I usually finish like top like 1 or 3. I don't know why. It's just like, you know, sometimes there's a game that you're really good at. I just happen to be really good at Hearthstone Battlegrounds, and there's something about the probabilities my brain gets. But it was actually kind of influenced the way we built our game a lot, actually, because inside of Hearthstone Battlegrounds, you can merge characters together to make them stronger, and they get bonuses. It's a very strategic game. And then same thing with ours, you can merge, you know, these farms and ranches to make, you know, bigger lands, upgrade them up to castles. And so a lot of our game Castles is actually reflected inside of this methodology of something that is simple and fun. And I find like Hearthstone Battlegrounds really captures that really well. It's like a very simple version of the actual Hearthstone game, where, you know, it's just so much more simpler. It's a deck building, you know, auto chess game. And so when we build the Castles game, I try to think of that same thing. Like, what can we do that is so simple that, like, you know, anybody can get it, anybody can have fun. So we have a new free to play mode that is coming out soon. Everyone's going to get like a free character called the Squire. And they can claim a little bit of some tokens like every 8 hours. And every 8 hours, they can actually open a pack that's going to give them 5 different rarities, and they can consume those power-ups. They're basically power-ups. You get a banquet pack that is full of power-ups, and you get to consume those power-ups and level up basically your claiming power. And so it's very simple, you know, kind of fun. Open your pack every 8 hours, see what you got. You know, consume your power-ups. You know, hopefully you got like the epic cake, which is one of the epic things you can get. And then we gamified it by making it so that there are factions, and you know, you have a 1 in 3 chance of actually getting a food NFT that actually matches your faction. If you don't get one that matches your faction, you got to trade it with somebody else if you just don't want it to sit there. And so it's a very simple, kind of fun, deep thing that I like. Everybody hears me say this a million times. I like simple, deep, and fun games. And I also love economy games. So I play Satisfactory or games like it whenever I get a chance, which is like these big builder economic things. And if you look
Robert,
at our, yeah,
I got to stop you real quick. I
sure.
feel like you and I have the exact same gaming tastes because
really, I don't
even
play the Souls-like. So
no,
maybe not exactly the same.
I know I said Souls-like, but
okay.
I don't even mention because no one plays auto chess. I play auto chess. I put at least 1,000 hours into it. I play I play the original one by like the I forget what they're called. They're like the Chinese developer that did the mod originally. So I understand, and I want to say I'm so happy to finally meet someone who understands why those games are so good. They're so good.
Yeah, well, the first ones were like what in the World of Warcraft games, I think, right? The auto chess
Warcraft
games.
3, I think, was a mod.
Yeah, I think they kind of started there in some forms. But yeah, I'm a big fan of them, and I think they're a pretty big genre. They might not be as big as like say shooters, but I think there are people like you and me who I don't know. I like the probabilities and the strategy. I like that I can't completely control an outcome, but if things just quite go my way, then I have a very good chance. And if I was kind of calculating the probabilities of who's going with what, and if I get this card at this time or sell this thing at that time, I think Hearthstone Battlegrounds has a really great balance for that. Like just enough that your choices do matter. But your success isn't guaranteed. I really like that.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way about my permutation of it, but I'll definitely check out Battlegrounds because I've tried TFT. The meta is like Underlords is a dead game at this point, and
yeah, I really don't play any other auto battle chess. They don't interest me quite as much. But back to the factory games. I love factory games, and if anybody who plays Castles looks at Castles, you can actually see the factory game inside of our game itself. I really do see our game as like a giant factory that I have built, and everybody just gets to own their own pieces of the factory and like churn out their lumber and their wood and their royal seals and and open their packs and stuff like that, and then put it back into the factory to like make new things. I used to stream that one, but I really like the factory builder type economic. They're kind of like economic sims, but they're more like bottleneck simulators.
What was the one that was top down that met like
Factorio?
Factorio. No, it was a different. I know Factorio, but it was like the other one that's like more space themed.
Dyson Sphere program.
No, it's like a pun of a name. I'll look it up. Anyways, we're droning on talking about these obscure titles that no one's ever.
Is
heard
it
of.
on tablet? Like there's another one on there.
Factory space game. It's the same thing with like bottlenecks. It's like Satisfactory, except it's like top down.
I know.
Mindustry. That's it. Mindustry.
Oh, Mindustry. I tried that for a second. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I know it's like got really great reviews, but I just could not get into it.
I played through that for a while. I thought it was really interesting, but then I kind of I started to see a little bit about their multiplayer, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then it just really disappointed me. It just wasn't very fun. So I do like to be able to expand into multiplayer when I'm playing my games, and then when that falls flat to me, it just kind of kills it for me. I lose my enjoyment when the multiplayer's bad. It's like, oh well, I can't enjoy this with any of my friends, so I'm done.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I think it's probably around time we kind of started to close down the stream. We've been running for like an hour and a half. But any last thoughts that anybody has before we do our official sign off? Rick, any last thoughts?
I just want to say thank you for your time and thank your community for showing up and listening to us drone on about various things. So, and again, thanks for being a partner of Flame, and we're looking forward to doing amazing things together.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And thank you to Lily and yourself for reaching out to us, because I just remember kind of just like reading about your project and reading about Flame and just thinking, wow, like this could solve so many problems that I'm trying to figure out how to solve right now. Just inside of what you guys are talking about, and just being here and sharing the moment with you guys, and listening to your thoughts on blockchain gaming and gaming in general. We need more of you guys, more people like you in this space, people who are gamers first, people who are who care about the gamers, who care about their experience, and they're number one for us. Josh and I always talking about like what's best for the gamers, and that is really where we come from with everything. And so it's really great to see other people and have partners in this space that are after that same thing, creating great experiences for the gamers. And I know in the long run, that is what changes everything. A lot of these other projects that are coming in here be like, oh well, we know what people want, we're going to sell them this and we're going to sell them that. But all those are going to be short-lived compared to Axie Infinity is a great example, shot to the moon. And now I was just watching a video by Chris Crypto Stash, a YouTuber, the other day, and he's like, this is all the way in my red zone bad area. He's got a list of like from like S to super to R for bad, like dead, dying, red. He put it all the way in the red, and that just goes to show when people don't take care of their users and put their users first, and be vigilant too. In this particular space, we need to be very vigilant. It's just, this is what it takes. It's what it takes in this particular span of time. And I think probably even more than in many other industries, I sometimes liken this particular space that we're in right now, this time, I liken a lot to being back in the frontier days of like, you have a bunch of people in Europe and they're trying to come to America to like make a new life for themselves, but there are rattlesnakes, there are indigenous people, there's sickness, and it's like, it's not going to be an easy journey. But if you can come out of the other side, there's basically going to be a whole civilization, a whole new level of opportunity for us here. We just have to build the sustainable places, like build the cities, build the sustainable places where populations can grow and people are safe, and they know what to expect, and they can come here getting what it is that they came to get out of their experience. Like that is, that is just kind of where we're at. So I appreciate you guys being on this journey and being partners with us in that.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
had a great time.
Really, any last words besides that?
I can't top what Rick said. Just thank you for having us, and really great to kind of chat with your community, both in the chat and out loud, and excited to see where we can go together.
Thank you. Awesome. Josh, how about you?
This has been a lot of fun, especially the parts where you guys are talking about all the different kinds of games that I don't even know how to play anymore. So it just helps me realize how far out of the mainstream gaming I am. But that's okay. I'm gonna have to play Fortnite sometime. You're gonna have to let me play with you, and you'll have to carry me a little bit, Robert. We'll make it happen. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Thanks for the chat.
We'll put that at the very end of the to-do list.
He's like, he's gonna be bad. Yeah, I'm pretty bad.
I will build a double layer of steel walls around you, and
yes, just put me in the hole.
And then the circle will close up on you and you'll die and you'll have no idea what happened. Oh, awesome times. Well, let's stay in touch, guys. Let's do another one of these sometime soon, and let us know if you guys need anything. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. A lot of you guys here, Warcry, James, and Julian, one of our moderators. And we appreciate you guys watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.
Bye.